And it's going to be amazing.
That I'm ready. Okay,
Okay.
we're back. We are back. The fastest 6 days in show business. All right. Okay, ready?
Ready.
It is the Brad and Britt cast, back after a week-long hiatus. Thank you. And what I think we want to do is, for the first 20 minutes or so, talk about where I've been, what I've done,
Mm-hmm.
things, all kinds of like personal stuff, because people really like that.
Sure.
On a podcast, on the radio, on TV, because they're really interested in my personal life. So, no, not doing.
If you could, some restaurant recommendations would be all. Those are always good.
Right.
Any kind of travel tips, really.
And by the way, I'm the first person to notice this. There's a lot of traffic in Southern California.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
That'll be.
You
that'll
are
be
shitting
all.
me. You cannot be real.
That'll be all. That'll be all. All right. Boy, I mean, do we? I guess we do need to start with the fact that the Democrats always have that special timing of passing the most important thing that they need to pass late on Friday night. See, when you take out the trash, you're supposed to take out the trash. And that's the phrase is that from West Wing? Did they use that there?
That's the first time I heard it. I mean,
okay.
they probably got it from someone, but that's the first time I remember hearing
it. You're supposed to, you try to bury bad news on Wednesday night or Friday night so that nobody will pay attention to it. And by Monday, it's as if it never happened. See, but the good news, you don't do late at night, because then, not that no one knows, but it's just kind of ironic, isn't it, that they finally got this thing done with the rebuilding the roads and the rest of the shit late on Friday. But good news for me, Britt, it was a little bit earlier, because it's 3 hours earlier in California. They passed 3 hours earlier in California than they did.
Wait a minute.
I knew about it 3 hours before you did. Isn't that how that works?
Yeah. Wait, what time does football start on Sunday in California?
I don't know. I could not figure that out. It was too hard. And then, like, when you added you subtracted the clock for an hour. Geez, I didn't know what to do. I was clueless.
It was nuts. How could you? It was just insane.
It was just no. But the fun part, of course, of this legislation that passed finally is that it was 13 Republicans voted for it.
Yeah.
Of course, it should have been more. Of course. And it's at these moments when, and I know this doesn't matter to the Trumpers or Republicans in general, they show their true colors of what they're all about, which is those 13, if they could be lined up and shot by other Republicans, Trumpers, the folks in the usual positions in the right-wing media, then they would be, because the most important thing associated with all of this back and forth for months and months and months and months was not allowing Joe Biden to win something, to get a win. And so if you're the Republicans, what do the soldiers say? It was God, the troops, my family, and they have some kind of order of things that are important. But
God, country, and the core. They would always do
that. But with Republicans, they've shown their true colors. It's not relevant whether rebuilding roads and bridges and internet and the environment and all that shit is helpful to all the people that they represent. That is what is that, about 7th on the list, Britt? Maybe maybe top 7. Okay,
maybe.
So we know that doesn't matter. That's not important. The only thing that matters is to make sure that doesn't happen with Joe Biden and Democrats getting any credit for it. And you know how they could have made sure that really didn't happen? It would be for all of them to have voted for it. Then they could say, this is what we wanted during the Trump administration. The Democrats wouldn't allow, they would lie. They could lie about it, but they can't lie about it now. Now they're just exposed for what they are. And because there were 13 of them, that gave cover to, I call them the squad plus one. Okay. So it was the 4 squads, right? And then that Cory Bush, and there's a 6th one. They were able to vote against it because, of course, it wasn't big enough.
How many people are in the squad now? Is it 5? Aren't there 5 people?
It's still 4, but I call it
there's more.
4 plus 1 plus 1. There is no such thing. But
it's an extended squad.
Yeah. It's like the 5th Beatle, George Martin, or
Murray the K,
or Larry. What's his name from Philadelphia?
Right.
Larry. What's his name? Philadelphia. Cousin Brucey. He was the 8th Beatle, I think.
Oh, God.
But this is what they're all about, and I guess considering that earlier in the week, the Democrats got their asses kicked in New Jersey and in Virginia. You really do have to sit back every time you think that it's over, the die is cast, there's no coming back.
Yeah,
something changes. And that kind of changed things a little bit. And of course, now it's the hand wringing over. Democrats have to sell this. Why can't they sell it? Why can't they take credit for it? We know that whole shit. I don't want to talk about it.
The president is on the road. He's selling the thing and telling America what's in it. And it's going to be very helpful for a lot of people, but I don't know if any of that really matters. It
doesn't matter because my bridge won't be fixed by Thursday. Okay. Right. But, still, it is a big deal, or they wouldn't have fought against it so much on the Republican side, right?
Well, and now the story is now that they're trying to punish these guys, kick them off committees. They're already receiving. You've heard some of the voicemails trying to kill their dogs and burn their houses down.
Yeah. And by the way, I am so glad that the Republican leadership is standing strong and saying nothing about this.
Yeah, they're tough. They've got a backbone. That McCarthy guy.
Yeah,
you don't mess with him.
Well, first of all, you never answer your phone. Okay, the Republicans should know that when a death threat is coming in, because I have a caller ID that says death threat.
The threats.
You just don't pick up the phone.
Well, sometimes the thing says likely scam. Mine goes likely death threat. Like, oh yeah, that's going to voicemail. We'll screen that one out for now.
Yeah. So they are this nihilistic death cult, Trump loyalist group of weirdos who can't get out of their own way. Because think about this. It was just a week ago, the Democrats couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't stop their circular firing squad, all those shit. And now it's a week later. Hello. Who's got problems? Who's got problems now?
Well, there's almost. I mean, it's almost comical. It's like why are you up? You understand, like if somebody votes to, for God's sakes, let public funding go to one abortion. You understand they get like death threats.
That that's the principle that I can.
That's okay. You get that. Like, oh,
right.
I'm going to kill your dog. I'm going to take your daughter and make a wish with.
That makes sense to me. Sure.
But now it's like
a legitimate death threat reason.
Sure. But now it's like, oh my God, you want to build a road? I'm going to fucking take you and put your entrails all over the map. I don't understand that. How do you work up a good lather about that?
Well, the answer is you can't, because of course, what was the longest running joke during Trump's administration? It was infrastructure week. Okay.
That's right.
Has anybody, I haven't seen, Washington Post always does this. They're the ones that do all the counting. Have they counted exactly how many times they tried that? I mean, it has to have been at least 10 times a year.
It was double digits. It was definitely double digits.
I'm betting the over and under on that is 30 or 35. All right. So clearly, not only is it not the substance of what was passed, okay, clearly it isn't even the cost of what was passed, because you may recall that last year, that was 2020 still, that was still 2020, Trump went from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion, and as the pandemic made things worse, and he was trying to figure out ways to spend more money without looking like a big government spender, he had his infrastructure plan during one of his infrastructure weeks jump up to $2 trillion. And of course, the Republican Party wanted nothing to do with it, right? Wanted nothing to do with it. And they blocked it. They wouldn't. And now Trump is going berserk, right? Because the same legislation, in effect, most of the same things, have now passed. And the answer is you got nothing. You got nothing to complain about. And Mr. Great Businessman, Mr. Get Things Done, Mr. Thank goodness we're finally going to have someone in there who understands business. You fucking morons who fell for that shit. Okay. And so Trump is out there just blasting away. And the Mitch McConnell, Donald Trump dynamic is just spectacular. I think Trump is calling Mitch McConnell now that old crow. And Mitch McConnell's comeback was, Old Crow is a great, is it whiskey?
Yeah, it's a good whiskey. Good, it's delicious. What are you saying that
Mitch
for?
McConnell says, I consider that a compliment. Old Crow is a fantastic whiskey.
Delicious.
Nothing that Trump hates worse than when someone not only doesn't take his bait, but turns it right back around on him and lets it, roll off their shoulder with the old dust off, right, with a joke. He hates that. He hates that. And by the way, think of this. You're on the side of Mitch McConnell in this, right? You can't ever be on Trump's side for anything. And how could you be on Trump's side for anything? By the way, for the record, and I haven't read anything about this. I didn't do the research on it, but I just know that it's true. Why did Liz Cheney vote against the infrastructure bill? She was a no.
I don't know. No. I'm sure it was like she was not wanting to borrow money from our grandkids or some shit like that, wasn't it?
But she knows that she would have voted yes.
Yeah.
If it would have been Trump proposing it a year ago, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and there was a vote on it. It never got to that point. It was never voted upon. But, you always have to kind of put that in there. Remember who Liz Cheney really is.
Of course.
Except for the fact that she's doing absolutely the right patriotic, intelligent thing right now. But you give her a chance, give her an opportunity. And she well,
that was always, that was the irony. She supported a lot of Donald Trump policies. A lot of them. But that was never enough for him. That's not going to do it. We can't, I'm sorry. Fuck you. You have to die. I can't stand you. You suck. That's how they go.
Right. But so, and by the way, I assume that if you voted no on this, and I'm not talking about the six Democrats, who, by the way, really should have to answer this the same way.
Yeah.
For instance, we'll pick the most famous one of them all, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I assume that she voted no because the area of the country that she represents, that's mostly the Bronx and Queens, I think, they need no infrastructure improvements. It's perfect there. Anyone that's been through the Bronx and Queens, particularly those areas that she represents, pristine, perfect, nothing left to be done. Robert Moses set it up, 50, 60, 70 years ago, and it's been perfect ever since then. So no infrastructure improvements were needed in those areas. So that's why they voted. Of course not. That's not the reason. That's not the reason. But these other people, and as dreadful a human being as Mitch McConnell is, he admitted, he said, those are his words the other day. It's a godsend. It is a godsend to the people of Kentucky. And he was the one that pointed out that piece of crap bridge that's been falling down, the one, that takes you from Kentucky to Cincinnati. It's one of the most famous infrastructure disasters in the country right now. Yeah. And he admits that, this is finally going to get fixed. My problem is, why weren't the Democrats there? Why wasn't Sherrod Brown, for instance, the senator from Ohio, standing on the Ohio side of the bridge? Yeah. I believe he has a passport that he could actually enter Kentucky, too, if he wanted to.
If he wanted to. They could
and do photo ops. Why didn't they do that ahead of the bill? Because now, on the other side of it, Jesus, are we going to end up with another Obamacare disaster here in terms of the visuals and the optics?
They won't try to block it, but they won't try to take it to court a million times to overturn it. But it'll be just like Obamacare. They will disown it, but then they'll love it. And again, it'll probably be like the ones that voted against it. It will show up for all of the groundbreaking ceremonies. Once again, that you can go ahead and just say it. Every Republican that voted against that, they'll have their golden ass shovel in hand as they have the groundbreaking ceremony for the new bridge or whatever.
Of course, you're right, but just think about the alternative to that. So let's just say that, there's a 10-mile stretch of road in the most important commuter highway in whatever city you're in, and it's now going to get fixed. It's going to take 2 or 3 years, however long it takes to do these kind of things, maybe longer. And you're a guy that voted against that. What do you do? Ignore it? Attack it because how dare you make people squeeze down to 2 lanes instead of 3 for all that? Hey, that is wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. I hate detours. What about how come nobody thought of it? You can't do that. So you have to assume that people have such short memories and are stupid. Okay.
That's always a
never lost money doing that.
No.
You become the step parent to the legislation and to the work that's being done. I guess we have to go back to what we were saying months ago before this passed, which is, if it does pass, who's going to do all this work? Who do you call? Where are all the construction workers, the highway workers, the bridge builders, the infrastructure people to lay the pipes for the internet all over the country? How does that get done? That's what scares me. That America does not have that kind of expertise in large enough numbers to perform this task. And why am I wrong? What makes me wrong here?
Well, when I suggested it might be illegal labor, I was really beaten up pretty badly on this show, so I won't do that again. But I'm not sure how you get the folks to do it, particularly when you can't get anybody to do any job right now. I mean, it's very, very difficult. There's a lot of leverage for folks as far as labor and stuff. So, I'm not sure how that works. But,
just think what would happen if Joe Biden said, we don't have enough American workers. We're going to bring in 200,000 Mexicans.
He's not going to say it. He's not going to say that. They're also not going to say, guess what? The hamburger that you're eating was illegal labor, slaughtered the cows that made that. They're also not going to say those carrots that you're eating at Walmart with illegal labor picked. They're not going to say that. But I mean, it's a dirty little secret that's happened in America for nigh on decades upon decades upon decades.
Yeah, but the problem would be, even if you're right, even if they were quiet about it, there is a right-wing media that would notice. And
of course, but it's the same right-wing media that would expose it's the same right-wing media that pissed off their donors with illegal labor during the Trump administration by trying to crack down on illegal immigrants, right?
Britt, and there's a left-wing media and there's a center media that is also counting illegal immigrants these days, way more than they used to. And they would then say, these people are being underpaid and they're not in the union. And believe me, it isn't there's too much scrutiny now to just think that our infrastructure labor issues, if we can just create that phrase right now, are going to be surreptitiously solved magically by folks, dropping from the sky.
And yet again, the meatpacking plants in the Midwest and some of the fields all over in California and the lettuce and stuff stuff's going to be picked by illegal labor. We know that in the coming months and years to come.
That's right. They're not going to switch over to highway building.
No, it pays too well. Come on, are you kidding? Slaughtering those cows is good work, and I'm not going to start building bridges for nothing. Yeah. So is McCarthy really saying that he's going to remove these guys? Is he saying that he's going to get rid of these guys and he's going to look into punishing these people?
Okay, of course he has to. Look, at one level, from our point of view, it's the biggest. Okay, who cares? But on the other level, on the other level, this is political ethnic cleansing in a party, to make sure that everyone is of the same, and I'm using it with a small c, color. In other words, orange, Trump. Yeah. Whatever Trump wants must be the way we vote. If Trump is going to attack you, the 13, then you shouldn't be in that 13. And if you are in that 13, Kevin McCarthy, it's just a total puss, thinks that he's going to be the next speaker, and he's never going to be the next speaker. They're not going to support. There is no way. He is so dead. He really is. But okay, that's too weedy. We're getting too weedy here, and I don't know. Yeah, take them out and shoot them all. Yeah, go ahead. Show us what you're all about, Britt. Every time they do this, they're showing you what they are. They just are. And by the way, it is fair to say that, yes, 6 Democrats voted against it. And I don't hear one word saying that, well, they should be thrown out of the party.
Exactly.
They should lose the committee.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Pelosi's not, you're done. Forget it. No committee assignments for you. You're fucked.
And you can say all you want that it's bullshit whenever Nancy Pelosi would get cornered. The last few months, what are you going to do about these progressives who want blah, blah, blah? And she would say, and it was hard for her to say, well, we're the Democrats. We don't have one point of view and everything, and we welcome and we'll negotiate it out and blah, blah. Well, guess what? In the end, that's what happened. And yes, you can get 6 people who divert from the plan, and that's just fine. You can live with that. Right. And the fact is, it was so right. It was so important to pass this that there were a number of Republicans who wrote in and, doubled the number of Democrats who voted no with yes votes over on that side. So pull back again. What's everyone to say? Nancy Pelosi never put shit out there that she doesn't know she can win. She's never gonna. Right.
So I mean, it's so casual and it's so tired for all of the criticism against her, not only from the Republicans, which comes all the time, but a lot of people who are Democrats. It's very knee-jerk stuff. But during the Trump administration, she kicked his ass 6 ways till Sunday. Every time there was a negotiation, she killed the great deal maker. Every single time. And then Chuck Schumer got in on it and started kicking his ass too. So people can say what they want to about her. As far as winning, quote unquote, winning, that what asshole baby said that he did a lot of during his 4 years, she did a lot of it. Right. So, I mean, you say what you want to.
Think about this, Britt. Not only can she count the votes in her party, apparently she knew how to count votes in that other party. Okay. Because again, she had to have known that 6 Democrats were going to vote no. And that would have been enough in and of itself, had all the Republicans remained unified, that it would have died. So she would never have brought it forward.
That's right.
If she didn't know that, she could, 6 points, right? 6 votes, 2 field goals, but there were 2 touchdowns and an extra point over there, 13, that were going to win the game for her. She knew that. She knows how to count. All right.
Well, I just wanted to bring up. There's a guy, Fred Upton from Michigan, saying he's playing some of the death threats. I mean, it's almost comical, except for these people who have shown a propensity to be actually violent.
Well, Britt, there's a Reuters piece, and they were able to tracked down, I believe, 10 people,
Yeah.
9 of them by name,
yeah,
who have leveled these death threats. Why 9 by name? Because they're proud of what they did. They don't want to hide. They're right out there. They're more than happy to tell you that they were standing up for what's true, what should be, that these Republicans deserve death for what they did. And what they did was the worst thing you could ever do. Give Joe Biden a political victory. And it's not relevant whether the American people gained a victory. It's not relevant whether your state is going to be better off than it was 5 years ago, that it will have better infrastructure, better bridges, better roads, better tunnels, more access to the internet, so that, as the president has said many times, you don't have to pull into a McDonald's with your kid for them to be able to do their homework. And they can mock that all they want, but that's kind of an out of touch thing to think that that doesn't happen, because it does.
it does.
You absolutely know it does.
Yeah.
And we're at the point where 25 years into the internet, really, it should be as ubiquitous as a telephone line into your house.
That's always the big swing. I mean, that is nationwide broadband is like a really big swing, and we can't even get together and build a fucking bridge. But eventually, at some point in time, it is going to be a good idea, not just for Republicans, but also for Democrats and everybody, to have nationwide. And there's this thing, Brad, called AM radio, where the bandwidth could be just destroyed and used for good things. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. You could use a thing like AM radio to give America nationwide broadband. Just my thoughts.
I didn't know that. I didn't know there was any relationship technically between.
It's broadband, and it's not being used right now because AM radio, as you know, has been dead for a number of years, but nobody told it. And you could just say, we're going to take those licenses, take that bandwidth, and we're going to put nationwide broadband everywhere.
Let me get this straight, Britt. You would take away bluegrass music. Great
That's
talk,
what
great
I
conversation.
would do, because you can't get it.
So
there's no way to get it.
So that some kid can surf the web for porn more efficiently.
That's what I would do.
Oh my God, what is wrong with you?
What's really good is anime videos. And this guy Gosar in Arizona has put out a really funny one. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Democrats are not getting the joke. Nancy Pelosi and her ill humor calling for investigations of this hilarious Gosar video that depicts him killing Ocasio-Cortez. Now, it should be put out there, and it should be said. The Republicans are denouncing him in the most basic way possible. In the most minimal way possible. They are denouncing this video.
Is it the if anyone was offended style?
Oh, I don't think we need that. I don't think think that's something that we need.
Right. Of course, at one level, there doesn't really need to be an investigation. You should just have a vote tomorrow, of course. But he deserves due process, Britt.
Sure,
he really does deserve, because I'm tired of talking. You know what I want to talk about, Britt?
What's that?
Because we've been gone for a week, and we were just at the beginning of the Aaron Rodgers thing.
Yeah.
In the middle of last week. And
that's correct. Yeah.
You know what I get out of this? I get out of this that, and we'll just assume that people know most of the details on where it is right now, which is that he's been minimally fined, not suspended from any games, but he's basically fucked up the Packers for the whole season, because they may have blown home field advantage, and they lost over the weekend when they didn't need to lose. Right.
He may play on Sunday, but he may not. It doesn't matter. We don't know.
The damage has been done, and that's fine. But his statements, his public utterances, they are no different than every other anti-vaxxer, pro-Trumper, whack job, conspiracy theorist. They're no different. They sound exactly the same. There is no difference. And when, I think it was yesterday, or was it the day before? I think it was yesterday, which was Monday here as we speak on Tuesday, when he issued maybe a worse back down or apology, which it wasn't really an apology. He is the first person I know who has ever been outed instantly as a liar, admitting that he did not tell the truth about his vaccination status, saying that he was immunized. We know that. Mm-hmm. And now here it is a week later. And what does he say? I stand by everything I said. Okay, so this is the first guy to stand by his own lies at this stage of this. So
well, yes, and he's the victim too, by the way. He's painting himself. He's the massive victim here.
But I didn't tell the truth. You caught me, and I stand by everything I say.
Correct.
Well, you know what? That's total. You know, your Uncle Fred, who's been watching Fox for 3 years, a complete disassociation with reality. It's not about your fucking body, and no one's gonna. Nobody can tell me what to put in my body. Thing we have. What does your trainer tell you to do?
Back in the old days, when we used to get these, before there was social media, we'd get these mass emails, and they would go, and it was. I just remember this thing like, Jay Leno said George W. Bush is doing a great job, and we've got a lot of jobs out there, and he's leading this country. I don't know what people are pissed off. So you would email these people back, and you do like, no, Jay Leno didn't say this. And they would go, well, Jay Leno may not have said that, but I still support the idea. And they would still say, but the idea was that it was given cachet because some stupid ass celebrity that people admire or whatever had said it. And yes, even when you strip the thing down from Aaron Rodgers and he goes, well, what he said was not true and he lied. I don't care. I'm still behind him because he's been canceled by the cancel culture. You got to throw the cancel culture phrase in there too, by the way. You just have to with everything that you do.
Except
he's been canceled.
Well, of course. And this is, of course, the all-time example of someone canceling themselves, right?
Exactly.
And I assume that we're no different today than we were 24 hours ago, that State Farm Insurance is standing by their man, which means I thought that over the weekend, they went out into the field and did a survey and said, should we or shouldn't we? And they made the business calculation that it was better to stick with Aaron Rodgers and take whatever crap goes on right now and then come out on the other side, or quietly ditch him over a period of time. You know, you can still have him as your spokesman, and the commercial only runs once every 2 weeks. And they say, well, we didn't get rid of him. You know, there's a lot of ways to do this, but State Farm, as far as I could tell, their statement was pretty, you know, we're standing by him. That major health system in Wisconsin said, no way, you're gone. Of course, if you're a hospital system, you can't be standing by.
I think this is illustrative. It's going to be tough to read if you're watching this. State Farm announces that they're going to stand behind. This is the Fox Business story. They're backing Aaron Rodgers' personal point of view, encourages vaccinations after QB's controversy. The next story on there is CNN. Aaron Rodgers' State Farm commercials are disappearing from your TV. Third story,
I was accidentally right for once. Yeah.
And the third story is the Chicago Tribune column, idea for unvaccinated Aaron Rodgers' new State Farm pitch. I don't have car insurance. It's a personal decision.
That's funny. That's great.
So that's three different plays on the same story, which I think is really kind of illustrative. And you will get people from Joe Rogan America who are saying, well, Aaron Rodgers, he just was canceled. Because as you know, he's no longer quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, can't get a job in the National Football League, and lives and shits in a box down by the road.
Right.
That's what's happened to Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Because of all of this.
Right. But here's the question. How now can you have this guy as a spokesman for anything? He has admitted in public that he lied about the most important health issue in our lifetimes, the most important one, just flat out lie. So how could he be a credible spokesman for anything? I mean, he couldn't be a credible spokesman, as far as I can see, for the clapper. Clap on, clap. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe that it would work. That gives me the clap if I do that, right?
I think he could be a great spokesperson for MyPillow.com. Now that he could do that right now. What would be wrong with that? Yeah. Wouldn't you agree that that's his next big play?
Yeah, he can get it. He can have a pillow fight with what's the name of the kicker, Mason What on the
yeah, Mason Crosby.
Maybe. Do a little pillow fight with that guy.
So yes, the Aaron Rodgers situation, and they think he will be allowed, I think, in the facility on Saturday. And if he gets a positive or a negative COVID test, he will be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers in their next game. And then all be forgiven. He'll be a hero to Joe Rogan America once again. And but he does. He sounds exactly like a Trumper. He sounds exactly like he says the same shit over and over again. Whether or not his politics align with that, I don't think you understand the shit that's coming out of your mouth right now. Sounds exactly like Donald Trump would do. And has Donald Trump shown his support for Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to have the picture of the two of them golfing and shit anytime soon? That's what it sounds like to me.
You may be a little early on that one, but it sure sounds like that's that's an inevitable marriage that's going to occur.
Holy shit!
It's really true. You're right. You're right. What other direction does he have to go in now?
Are you familiar with this story? Speaking of guys in sports and the so-called cancel culture, this Robert Sarver guy who is the owner of the Phoenix Suns and all the shit that's come out about him over the past week or so. There's a video out now, if you haven't seen this, of him when his minority partner dies. He's speaking at the funeral and he's doing a roast, and it's so fucking cringeworthy. I mean, it's beyond Michael Scott level shit that this guy is saying about a dead person. So now what you're going to hear from the Fox News crowd is, oh my God, they're going to take away this man's franchise. He's going to be the next guy that's canceled. And I just want to be clear about what we're saying here. If, in fact, the NBA decides you have to go, Brad, what will his punishment be?
Probably at least $1 billion in profit over the amount that he paid.
Exactly. Here's a $2 billion check, and you have to go away.
They have to do to him what they did with Donald Sterling and the Clippers.
Right.
You take it away from him, and
for a sum of a couple of $1 billion, you have to go away.
I understand it, but that's you and me talking. Okay, that's not the way the world of cancel culture looks at something like this. It's an injustice done to a man that shouldn't be done to him. They don't ever go, yeah, but he's getting a lot of money to go. So that's just us because, we're poor and we're bitter. Okay. But nobody ever pays us that much to go away.
So is that really like among the Barstool Sports crowd and the Fox News crowd, these ungrateful Negroes took this team away from him? Is that going to be their story? Is that because that's what I would like to know if that's how this will be played out.
I have not dove into this one, but I cannot imagine. And I'll just pick out the four guys who do the halftime and the pregame shows on TBS. That's what Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal,
Kenny
the Jet Smith,
right.
That these guys wouldn't have this guy hanging from the rafters, and rightfully so, and that he couldn't survive, that kind of court of public opinion, and he shouldn't. He shouldn't survive. He shouldn't be there. And I would think that that's going to start to affect the number of people that go to the games in person and all those because that's what happens when these kind of stories break. And so good luck to him. But the NBA, at least we have to play which is the best league, which is the worst league when these kind of things come up. The NBA has been much better than the NFL in handling these rogue, racist, sexist, not fit for human interaction people who have enough money to buy these teams. The NFL, their toleration level, except for Jerry Richardson, apparently the worst guy ever, right?
Well, again, another guy.
Wait, Britt, do we know anybody else who really had their team kind of yanked out from underneath them, sent away with a lot of money? But think of the other people that own these teams.
Well, the Daniel Snyder situation is illustrative. I mean, he's probably the stuff that's been detailed that the former Redskins current football team have done. They're way worse.
Right.
It's way worse stuff. And of course, the solution there is that John Gruden has to be fired. So there you go. That's what happened in that situation. But if you haven't seen these stories, he was a guy who also was in love with the N-word for some reason, would say it to people, but he was just quoting other people. It's not fair that other people should be able to use the word and he shouldn't.
By the way, that N-word is nasty.
Only Miss Jackson, if you're nasty. Robert Sarver would say this in front of people who were black, and then one of the coaches went, "Hey, you can't say that. Don't say it." Well, I'm just quoting this guy. No, stop saying that dumb shit. And then, of course, there was a lot of insensitivity. He would distribute pictures of his wife in a Phoenix Suns bikini to some executives as a way to say, "Hey, this is the stuff we ought to sell in the store." And he would pass that shit around. And just a horrible human being. I really, you should seek out this video, which has now gone viral, of him at this funeral and the shit that he's saying about his dead partner. About he says that he brought his kids on this guy's boat, which was docked in Cabo, and somebody was having a threesome, and the kids kind of walked in on that. I mean, it's just unimaginable. You couldn't write this shit again on The Office and get away with it. They would think it's too unrealistic. Oh, speaking of stuff that's unrealistic, Donald Trump was actually president of the United States. He was dealt a bit of a setback in court last night, Brad, as a judge said that executive privilege does not last in perpetuity, as we've kind of known, but it's been codified now that a judge has rejected the idea to keep those papers secret in the January 6th inquiry. And I know that you, being the guy that you are, you've already looked up this judge, have you not?
No, I haven't. I hope it'd be great if it was a Trump-appointed judge or someone like that. I haven't looked it up, but
I cannot give you that. Tanya Sue Chutkan is her name. She was born in Kingston, Jamaica. She is a Barack Obama appointee from 2014.
But even with that said, it wouldn't matter because the game is, is there a way to slow this down? Is there a way to appeal this? Is there and I'm sure there is, because the papers have to be turned over, Friday? Well, that's an eternity in the world of appealing bullshit to try to run out the clock in the world of Trump, right?
Right.
But that being said, we may be on a different glide path in terms of timelines, and this may not help him because this really feels like the 9-0 decision against Nixon on the tapes.
Yeah.
Where the writings of this federal judge were so definitive, were so airtight, were so. You want to argue against this? Would you like to argue that Donald Trump is a king and entitled in perpetuity?
She actually used that. She used that language about the king stuff. It was really good.
That's why I did it, because I'm not smart enough to think of it on my own. What do you think?
She said he is Trump is not a king, and the plaintiff is no longer president. That was part of what she wrote in this.
Okay. She's only right about half of that. He's not a king, but we do have.
He is still president. We've seen all the subpoenas that are going out. The January 6th committee subpoenaing Stephen Miller, Kayleigh McEnany, and other ex-Trump aides. There's Stephen Miller, who I will once again remind everyone, Duke University. There he is, Duke University, as the aforementioned Nixon and also Rand Paul. All have ties to that great university in Durham that ended up winning their first game of the last tour of Mike Krzyzewski last night. So, yes, this one kind of marches on. Trump continues to lose in court, and eventually, I think you're right. I think he runs out of room, as Nixon eventually ran out of room.
Right, and we know what the goal here is. If he could set the timeline, which is to push everything past November of 2022, thinking that suddenly overnight all of the investigations will go away, and guess what? That's not true, and here's why. The committee that's investigating Trump is completing its work. They're getting it done right now. The investigations have been done. The information is being turned over to the Justice Department. People are getting subpoenaed. If tomorrow the election were held and the entire Congress became Republican, that would not affect the U.S. Justice Department. Yeah. Not a bit. Right. We don't elect our attorney general at the federal level like we do in states. We don't elect the Secretary of State. Of course, it's not an equivalent post federally at the states, but you get the point. And so they may think they can run the clock out, but they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to because, we can complain and want, it's going too slow. It's going too slow. Well, you know why it's going slow is because they're being deliberate enough to cross the T's and dot the I's here, because the worst thing, think about what the worst possible outcome is, that you go too fast. And because Rachel Maddow says we need to get this done, I'm impatient. I'm leaving my show at the end of the year. Get this shit done before I leave, right? It has to be done. And they don't do it correctly, and they lose in court, and Steve Bannon walks, and Stephen Miller walks, and Kayleigh McEnany, they all walk, right? And therefore it never even gets to Trump. And they declare victory, but they also declare that the Justice Department and the Congress were used as political weapons to punish the duly elected president in 2020, Donald Trump, who is running for re-election in 24 to seek revenge on all of these people who destroyed the constitutional order of this country. They will turn it upside down, shake it. And so that's why you got to do it right. You got to do it within the bounds of the law. You can't make it a direct line between the House of Representatives and the Justice Department. They're going out of their way to let you know that they're investigating. They turn over the information to the Justice Department, and that's it. That's all. They don't make them do it. Joe Biden isn't threatening Merrick Garland with his job if he doesn't get it done in 3 weeks. That's not how it's working now. Now, we know that that's how Trump did things, right? That is exactly the way he did shit. He would call publicly for the hanging of people. He shouldn't even be allowed to have that job. He should, all that. And because Biden doesn't act that way, we shouldn't get ourselves hooked in to his timeline, the Trumpy timeline on things. And even as bad as Trump was, much of the time, but not all the time, attorneys general didn't do what he wanted him to do. But of course, Bill Barr did do what he wanted to do when it came to the Mueller report and running interference that way. So I'm not saying that the Justice Department ever doesn't get politicized, or that it might not be more politicized now than it was, 80 years ago. I'm not saying that, but Trump isn't the president. The attorney general is not Bill Barr, and they're going to do it the right way so they can get convictions on these people who we know.
If you don't, this could happen again. I mean, the threat is still there that these people are going to act again.
Well, first of all, it could happen again anyway. That's what's the word. You could throw them all in jail, but the poison is in the water now.
Yeah, it is.
The poison is in the electorate, and we always have to remember they're only doing this not only for their own aggrandizement and power, but they're really doing this because they think that enough people who vote want them to do it. This is the reflection of the people. As rough as it is, the connection between voters and what politicians do, and there's kind of a direct line now. And you can put the right-wing media there in the middle if you want to make a triangle out of it and try to figure out who pushes who and who puts what subjects into the water and who drinks it and who acts on it. But if these people walk out of trials or get away with it in that way, that would be actually worse probably than them ignoring these subpoenas and getting away with that. I mean, that's bad enough, right? I mean, we're all sitting here wondering, when they ignore subpoenas, why doesn't the House of Representatives use whatever police powers that they have, which are not considerable? They don't have a police force. But there are ways to grab Steve Bannon and put him behind bars right now. They could do it. They could do it, but they choose not to. Why? Because we don't want a civil war in this country, because we've got so many fucking crazy people in this country, right? We do. We just do. So what else? We done? We through? We finished?
That's all I got.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. Tomorrow, more details on my fantastic trip to Los Angeles. And I got a lot of stories about flying on airplanes. Nobody's ever heard these before.
Do they serve you good snacks on those planes? Is no. The space restricted that you have to be in?
Pretty small. Yeah.
Do people act weird on planes? Because that's odd. Sometimes.
No. I've got one here. Ready? Here's a Jay Leno. because the planes going out west were the big ones. So they had the screen inside the back of your seat in front of you. This is kind of a different configuration, and I'm not Mr. Technical, but I can mostly figure things out, and it's just the thing on the back of the seat. It's not some supercomputer. I could not get it to not be in Chinese. Okay. It was in Chinese. And I couldn't, it didn't matter. I would press English, Chinese, still Chinese.
So you decided to learn Mandarin.
Yes, I did.
That's how they got you.
Yeah. Yes, I did. So what we did was Sunday night, we ate at an Asian place in Orange County. So that's my travel story. Too much Chinese in the airplane, ate at an Asian restaurant. That's all I got.
See you tomorrow.